Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to P2P Live, our regular jobs and market update that goes live across Australia on various social platforms every Friday. My name's Catherine Kennedy. I'm the Managing Director of People to People here in New South Wales. I'm very happy to be with you today. Thank you for joining us. I'm in our Parramatta office today in Western Sydney, which is Darug country. So I certainly wanted to acknowledge that. And it's a beautiful, sunny, crisp sort of winter's day here in Sydney, so very much enjoying the weather, but that's not what we're here for. We're here to get a bit of an overview around what's happening in the jobs and employment market. So as always, we have a jam-packed agenda. We will start with what we have our stat of the week, so some interesting
attention, this is fire rescue. We've investigated the alarms.
I know that we're live, but there's actually a fire.
Thank you.
My apologies. There was just an announcement about a false fire alarm. So nothing like live TV, as they say. But as I was saying, we have our regular stat of the week. There's some interesting data around people really working multiple jobs. So then we've got lots of jobs that need to be filled, both here in Australia, but also in the different locations where People to People is, so in New Zealand and also in the UK. We're going to have a chat to Marissa Varudo from our Western Sydney team, who's going just to give us a bit of an overview or some insight around some of the challenges that job seekers face and how you might be able to overcome that in the current market. And then, as always, our regular social media poll will bring you last week's results and then put a question out to all of you for the coming week. But let's get into it. Firstly, with our stat of the week. So the information that I thought I would share with you today is around multiple job holding. So I've read just from glancing at various news outlets that it does seem to be something that's getting a little bit more attention. Obviously, there's a rising cost of living and people are maybe needing to take on additional work. So what you can see on the screen gives a picture of how many people are multiple job holders and what the rate of multiple job holding is. So in Q1 of 2023, there were nearly 950,000 people holding multiple jobs. Now, that was compared to 13 million single job holders, but yeah, close to a million, 950,000 actually held more than one job. And that was up more than 2% from the quarter before. So Q4 2022, from that through till the first quarter of 2023, there was a nearly 2% increase in multiple job holders. Unsurprisingly, it's younger people who tend to have more than one job, probably to do with casual work, etc. So almost 9% of people aged between 20 and 24 hold more than one job or held more than one job in March of 2023. And that's compared to 5% of employed people aged 60 to 64. So, but it's interesting, you can see that there is a little bit of an upward trend going right back to, the mid-90s in terms of the job holder rate, but also the total number of people who have multiple jobs. There's definitely been an increase since that sort of 2020 period, and that's probably a reflection of cost of living and people just trying to get as much money through the door as they can. But that's our start of the week. We might move now to some of the hot jobs that we need to get filled very quickly for the team.
So I'm Amanda Fraser-Jones, and this is 𝐤𝐭. 𝐤𝐭 is different from any other dog because the work that he does with rescues that come in our house, our foster dogs, and just his ability to show them that it's all okay. Humans don't speak dog. Dogs speak dog better than anybody. Dogs are amazing for mental health. They teach you to live in the moment. We all spend our times overthinking, worrying, thinking about what's happening in the future, worrying about the past, and dogs teach us to just live in the moment and have fun and just be a part of life. I think 𝐤𝐭 is probably ready to give the crown to a new winner. However, he would really like to keep his cup because it makes a really good dinner bowl.
Okay, so the first job that we've got to be filled today is a network performance officer that's being led by Rinagi in our Queensland office. It's a temporary role, I believe, because it's on an hourly rate of $35 an hour. You can see the responsibilities that are there on screen. Ideally, you would bring some prior experience in a similar position. So if you're interested in that or in any work within the Brisbane area, then Rinagi is a good contact and you could reach out to him on his details there. The next one is a permanent position that Amandine in our Perth office is looking after. So this is a warehouse supervisor. It's with a big global business. It's a business that I know well and certainly one that would be career enhancing to have on your career history. So you're supervising a team of 4 in this position. You need to bring prior supervisory experience. You need to understand the sort of environment that you'll be in. So there'll be certain legislation around dangerous goods, for example, that you would need to be across, and you need to bring some of the technical skill set, including having a forklift license. So $110,000 based quite close to the airport in Perth, and Amandine is the person to reach out to about that particular position. And then if we were to go abroad, and perhaps you are in Australia and you're considering moving to either the UK or to New Zealand, or equally, perhaps you know people who are working, who are living there and who are looking for work, we've got a couple of opportunities, both from the UK and from New Zealand. So our first job of the week from the UK is a personal assistant position. So Maddie Lang, who worked with us in our Sydney office until really quite recently and has made the move over to the UK. She's leading this role. It's a PA position. You can see the responsibilities there on screen. You'd need to be technically proficient, as you would imagine, including with Office 365. And ideally, you might have some database or CRM type experience. So Maddie's details are all there and you can reach out to her. And then also across the ditch in New Zealand, I think it's Scott that's leading this position. I think there might be more than one role from memory, but looking for drivers basically. So it's a Class 2 driver position. You would need to have the relevant licenses, of course. You need to be able to pass some prior testing. There's certain checks and balances that need to be done beforehand. And just based on the location of this position, you need to have your own transport to get yourself to and from work. So Scott is the person to talk to in our Auckland office, and all of his details are on the screen now. As I said, if you are considering a move overseas, then definitely make sure that you connect with the relevant consultant at People2People. We've had some really good stories of people who have worked with us, or the candidates who perhaps done some temp work for us in Sydney, then they've moved to some of our other locations. We're very keen to help you with that global mobility, and you can definitely reach out to the team there as well. And I think what we're going to do now is we're going to have a chat to Marissa Varudo from our Western Sydney office, who's in the same office as me, but in a different room, which I know is a little bit unusual, but we couldn't work out the camera stuff. So I might go and have a chat to Marissa now, if that's okay.
Hello.
So hopefully you had the same moment of panic when you started to hear the fire system going off. So as I said, nothing like live TV. I can pretend that this is TV. But hopefully we'll be okay now. I think the fire trucks have left. So thank you for joining us. I know you're a specialist within the business support space in Western Sydney. So obviously talking to job seekers every day. And I think you've got a couple of particular challenges. I wanted to give a few insights around a couple of specific challenges that you know people face and some ideas and advice about that.
Yes. And thanks for having me online today. I participated in a webinar last month to discuss how to take the next step in your career. And I mentioned the most common challenges that job seekers are experiencing in 2023. Those main challenges being competition in the current job market, interview preparation and processes, entering into new markets and changing industries, and finally networking, how important that is and how that contributes to building your future career. I thought I'd make a shorter case of that and focus on maybe two of the main ones, but I'd like to focus on competition in the current job market and then entering into new markets and changing industries. So what I'll do first, I'll cover off competition in the market and what that means. On a day-to-day basis, we speak to many candidates and we speak to them about how they can set themselves apart apart from other job seekers. As we know, we're in the last half of this year, and it's a year that's recorded one of the lowest unemployment rates that we've seen in some time. But in New South Wales specifically, some areas recorded a higher unemployment rate than others. So in those areas, there are more candidates to compete with. So when it comes to that competition, I recommend direct information and in-depth detail about how they portray themselves in the market. And really that starts with how you display your experience in your CV. So your resume or your CV is the critical tool, and it really is the first connection between you and your future employer. So making sure that the layout, the information, and even the smaller details that you may not find to be so important, sometimes even such as the font type and the size of what you've got on there, can make all the difference. So I provided a few tips on the best layout to portray the best information. So ensure your jobs are listed in reverse chronological order. So meaning, yeah, exactly. So meaning you list your latest role first and work your way down. And Catherine, as you know, if we're looking at CVs, we want to see your most recent position. It's always the best way to set it out. Secondly, unless the company you've worked for is a well-known brand, providing a short summary of what that company does will set you apart from other candidates who may not have as much detail on their CVs as well. And lastly, you should provide information on each of your roles. So setting it out in this format might be a little bit easier. So displaying the title or the title of the role that you worked in, the time that you worked in that position. So say, April 2021 to April 2023, and then the responsibilities of your position and even your achievements as well. Setting out your CV in that way will provide a great overview of your experience, and it'll really attract the eye of a recruiter or a direct, HR representative as well. Yeah. So that's on competition. The other part of it is entering into new markets or entering into new industries. For job seekers who are entering into the market at the moment, it can be really daunting, and we definitely acknowledge that. Being new to the market can be a challenge, as there may be an expectation or a skills gap. This can also cover job seekers at all levels. So if you're a recent school leaver, you've just graduated high school, or even university graduates who have just entered into the job market, all the way to seasoned professionals who are ready to take a sidestep or try something new. There are a few ways that you can overcome these challenges. So research being the first one, knowing and finding out as much as you can about the industry that you're going in or the career you'd like to enter into is where it all begins. So this means covering everything from the biggest companies in that field, what skills those employers are mostly looking for in candidates, identify what those transferable skills are. So, if it is taking escalations, for example, or being able to manage a certain team of people, see how your current skill set can also be used in that other skill set also, and then highlight any relevant qualifications that you'd have. And then tailoring your CV to that target industry. And if possible, if you can, consider entry-level positions to gain experience, can be that foot in the door that you might need. You could also consider volunteering positions to get the right experience on your CV. And, obviously we're acknowledging that that might not be for everyone, especially in the current financial climate that we're in. But those sorts of things and those sorts of steps would only assist you down the line if you wanted more options. But in summary, Kath, I know I've really much just talked at you, but when looking for roles on the job market, you should seek information and advice on how to differentiate yourself from other candidates. Make sure your CV is updated. Make sure that your CV best represents you and your skills, and ensure that you do as much research as you can and tailor your CV to that target. And get in touch with me if you needed some information on how to do that. My details are below, so I'm more than happy to assist candidates who are looking to do that. We're definitely happy to help in any way that we can.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm sure that would apply for all of the people-to-people consultants. We are, frontline in the market every day. So if someone is watching this and they just want to get a little bit of advice around how they might particularly make a lateral move into a different market, then make sure you reach out to us. The two things I've really picked up from what you've said there is one, which seems small, but is actually having a bit of a summary of the organisation you work in, because it might mean that you you don't get overlooked for something if there might be a particular industry experience that an employer is looking for. If it's a niche, they won't know that connection. So that's really important. And then I think also the tailoring. So if you're looking at making a move into something different, that you're sort of telling that story a little bit, so it makes sense to whoever's reading it. But that's some really great tips. There's also on our website, there's a stack of sort of insights and tips and advice around job seeking. So direct everybody there. But yeah, Marissa's details on the screen there. And thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Okay, so that leaves us just with our social media poll. So this is what we put out to the world last week, which is when working from home, how productive are you throughout the day? And overwhelmingly, more than 53% said they're actually more productive at home than they are in the office. 33% said less than in the office, and there's 13 that said it doesn't really make a difference. So yeah, I think that's very interesting in terms of, I guess maybe there's an argument that in the office there's distractions of people around you, but equally at home there can be a lot of distractions as well. So I thought that was interesting results from last week. The question for this week that we'd like to put to you all is, as a job seeker in the current market, what is the most common challenge that you're facing in 2023? So is it low salaries being offered, that you're underqualified, that there's no flexibility options available, or is there something else that's a real challenge that you're coming up against? And if it is something else, we're really interested to hear what that is, and if you could put a comment to tell us what that is as well. So that brings us to the end of P2P Live today. Thank you for joining us. I always love jumping in and hosting when I get that opportunity. So thanks again for joining. All of the jobs that we've shared, the links will have been shared below, so you can jump in there. Very happy to take a call or a connection directly if anyone's got any questions, and we'll be back next week. Thanks so much.